He's muted.
Hello, everyone. It is 7:02 p.m. and I would like to officially call the meeting, the June 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Richmond Art and Culture Commission to order. I would like, our first order of business is to approve the meeting agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I have an addition.
Okay, but I need a motion first. I have an addition as well, but may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Okay, thank you. If I could get a second. Second, okay. Are there any questions? Commissioner Mayhus, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I know Winifred's anxious to talk about the senior center mural, so I asked her to put that on there.
Okay, let's put it on the agenda under discussion items.
Information, discussion, either one.
It's in the staff report also,
Okay.
which you have.
Oh, well, but the staff report isn't really presented at this meeting. So let's put it under discussion items so we can talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you. I also have an addition. Reading through the minutes, I realized that we were to have not an in-depth report, but a brief overview from you about from Winifred, sorry, about the Americans for the Arts Conference in Washington. Not an in-depth report, but just we didn't have time to talk about it at the last meeting, and according to the minutes, we said we'd add it to the agenda for this one. So we can add that to the discussion items as well.
Discussion items, or do you want it to be part of the staff report?
Well, now, in the last couple of times you presented the staff report, because you have given us in writing a very lengthy assessment of what you do month to month, I wasn't sure that, we didn't even talk about it. It was as a notes in the minutes, it was just provided. So I'd like to pull these two things out of the staff report so that we can talk about them, if you don't mind.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so any other additions, corrections, revisions to the minutes? Wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, to the agenda. All right, then I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes, the meeting agenda for tonight's meeting with the addition of two items for discussion, the senior center mural and the conference report on Americans for the Arts. All in favor, please show by raising your hands visibly for the camera. Tom, if we could get a vote from you.
Yes.
Yes, okay, a verbal vote, thank you. That is approved unanimously. Oh, I need to back up just a minute and do a roll call. My apologies. I am the chair, Florine Wiley. RACC Vice Chair Melissa Kirk, are you present?
Present.
Council Liaison Melvin Willis, are you present?
No.
Staff Winifred Day, are you present?
Yes.
PAC member Tom Harriman, are you present?
I am present, yes.
I'm sorry, RACC member Philip Mayhus, are
Yes.
you present?
Yes.
RACC member Emily Layton, are you present? RACC member and PAC Chair Linson Bolio, are you present? Okay, so RACC members Bolio and RACC commissioners Bolio and Layton are not present, and neither is Council Liaison Melvin Willis. So having done the roll call, we will now move on.
Hello. Excuse me. Are you therefore then declaring that we do have a quorum to continue?
Yes, I am now declaring that we have a quorum to continue.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things that it was very helpful that Winifred pointed out at the last meeting is that a quorum doesn't depend on the potential number of members, but on the actual number of members. So we do have a quorum for tonight. Let us move on to the next item on the agenda, which is to approve the meeting minutes of our May 26th meeting. Commissioners, having been presented with these minutes and having had the opportunity to read them, do you have any corrections, revisions, or any other concerns about these minutes? I have one thing I'd like to add, to change on page 6, for the record, under announcement of upcoming events. The play, The Grantee Project, is what women want, not what women wanted. Just for the record. It's a very critical part of the play.
Okay.
And I have no further corrections or revisions to the minutes. All right,
I'm sorry. There are just a couple of typos that we've corrected for future reference with names. John Worley's name was not spelled correctly, and Hindler's name in the first stating of it was not spelled correctly either, but we've made the corrections.
so what we're looking at has been corrected.
What you received was not corrected, but for the record, we have corrected it and resubmitted it. If you would like me to resend the corrected copies to you, then I can do that.
No, I thought Cordell Hindler's name was spelled correctly.
Well, in one place it is, but on the first page, it's not spelled correctly. The L is missing. At least on the copy that I think I sent to you. But maybe I got the correct spelling.
I
to-
think you did.
Okay. Sometimes I get it right. Okay, thank you.
And the other correction?
John Worley on page 5. In 3 different places in the 3rd paragraph.
And how do you spell it correctly?
Werhle.
Well, yeah, what I have is correct in all places.
Okay, great. Got it.
Okay. All right, may I have a motion to accept these minutes as corrected?
So move.
So moved, who was that, Tom?
No, that was
Philip.
Philip.
Yeah.
Okay, and may I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. And if, by show of hands, all of those that approve to accept these minutes as corrected, show your hands. Everyone is raising their hands for the camera. That is unanimous approval. Let us move on to the next item on our agenda, which is public comments. Ms. Day, are there any public comments for tonight's meeting?
Yes, we have one comment from Cordell Hindler, submitted on last Friday, June 17th. Fred, I have some comments for the record. Number 1, the mayor has mentioned the Arts and Culture Commission at the May 24th council meeting. Number 2, I will speak with the youth council at their meeting next week to encourage them to apply for the vacancies. Sincerely, Cordell.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Handler. Let us move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the 2 discussion items we just added. Winifred, since both of these you are being presented by you, I'll give it to you to say which you'd like to start with. Either the Americans for the Arts brief overview or an update on what's happening with the Senior Center mural.
I'll start with the second one, the senior center
Mural. Okay,
Previously, I've sent pictures so that you all have seen the revised mural, and within the next 30 days, we expect that it will be installed. All 5 will be installed. We received the encroachment permit just this week, and I'm waiting to hear what the available installation dates are available from the firm that's going to be doing the installation. So once we have their dates, then we can move forward. So we're very, very excited. so that next time, like I said, within the next 30 days, we expect that everything will be installed.
Okay, just for point of clarification,
Yeah.
this is the mural designed by Judy Baca?
Correct.
Okay, great.
The series of 5 murals. Mhm.
Okay, great, wonderful, thank you.
Phil, did you want more information than that, or is that okay?
That's good. It's kind of same old kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, we have to get the encroachment permit before we can, install everything. So now that we have that, that's part of your indicator that we're getting closer.
Did we have to do that before? I remember that mural was done very quickly when it was first put up. I think I'm thinking of the wrong mural.
Well, that was 2013, so, it's been several years. I can't tell you what was
okay.
involved. All I know is that one of the steps was that it was encroachment permit evaluation had to take place, and that has taken place.
Excellent. So we're moving forward, and within the next 30 days, we expect to see some artwork on the wall.
Yep.
And about yes, Philip.
Yeah. I can't not comment about the mural, which I've done most of the time, and Winifred and I talked about it a number of times. I think this is a classic way of not handling a big project or a big restoration project, I should say, because I don't feel like they were really genuine with us, genuine with Winifred in what they're said that they can do, capable of doing, how often or how fast. All these things are just drive me nuts, because I don't know how many criticism you guys have gotten, but people are criticizing me all the time when I tell them I'm on the art commission. Oh, you guys didn't do that senior mural, huh? So I imagine everybody's gotten a few comments on it, but it just blows me away, the whole project. So I'm glad I'm not doing it.
Well, I appreciate your comments, Philip. I would say that going forward, there's certain things that we need to just make sure are part of the contract ahead of time that maybe they didn't have in the past, and that's part of how things got slowed down here. We had an application for business license that was not paid. So that's not something that, we find out until we go for the encroachment permit. And that department is doing their due diligence to verify that, this company has to do certain other things. So I appreciate your comments. Like I said, I'm excited that I feel we're closer. And once I have the date, I'll let you know so that Tom can come out and take some video evidence.
There we go.
Great, excellent.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. How was the conference?
Americans for the Arts. That conference was very informative. For many of you who are familiar with Americans for the Arts, they've been around for a long time. And for a very long time, they had the same administration. And now there's new administration. A lot of people were complaining that it was kind of one of the old boys network type situations where the same people were in charge for 25 years. And so now, especially because of COVID, it was kind of a perfect time to reorg. And that's exactly what's been happening. So in the past, those conferences have had about 2,000 people in different major cities around the country. This time it was limited to 500 only, partially because of COVID. And there's a new administrator who is a former military man. And a lot of people were asking him, well, what do you know about the arts? And, he's an art lover, but he's definitely a strategic logistics man. He's a businessman, if you will. So there, in terms of just the way the conference was managed, there was a lot of room for input from the 500 people who were there from all across the country. They had open tables, if you will, in like multiple rooms at a time so that you could interface with all the people who were there and talk about what's important to you and your community. They might have had like 10 different tables that you could attend. And there was something that everybody wanted to talk about of the 10 topics. And you could rotate around to different rooms if you wanted to. So it was a 3-day conference. And it was a nice range of people between the balance of people from across the United States, the ethnicity, the age, all the diversity that you hope to see at these type conferences was very much evidenced there. There were poets who were poet laureates who were performing. There were dancers who performed. There were musicians who performed. There were one of the most interesting experiences that I saw was when a Cambodian dancer from the Bay Area did a performance along with a gentleman from Chicago who's like a street dancer. So, you know, a dance form that's 1,000 years old mixed with a dance form that's 30 years old, or how, you know, just a much shorter period, was really, really interesting to see how they work together to show how culture can balance itself out, I guess you'd say. So
Great.
it was that's just one thing that I found really interesting. And there's several other, they talked about things like doing public art on a shoestring, because a lot of the cities do not have large public art budgets, and they don't have all the restrictions that we have in order to get projects approved. So they're able to do a lot of neighborhood type projects just by asking, so, you know, the guy from Public Works to come and help them, as opposed to getting a permit and all the other extra things that we have to do in order to move things along. So it was, I was able to share some of our success stories. Usually they do what they call a year in review, and we didn't really see that so much this year, but perhaps next year there will be one where you'll be able to see some of the really good projects all across the country as part of one of the presentations. But I also think they probably have something like that online, accessible, as opposed to it being featured at the actual conference. So one other thing that happened while I was in Washington, I was able to meet Melissa Granville, who you may recall her name being on a past agenda, being with the James Irvine Foundation. They were looking for a location for a mural, which they have found, so they're no longer asking us to help them with that, but they do murals all across the country. And they were unveiling a mural on the national lawn. So I was able to go for the unveiling of that. And I was also able to go to several museums while I was in Washington. For those of you who've been there before, you know the museums are free. So that's like, if you don't take advantage of it and you're an art person, then that's unfortunate. So I was able to do that, see a lot of great artwork. For those of you who are familiar with Hung Lu, she's a Chinese American artist here in the Bay Area. She passed just within the last year or two. And prior to her passing, she was planning a solo exhibit at the National Portrait Gallery. So I was able to see the exhibit, which it blew my mind. There were like, 10 rooms of her work. It was a major collection of a huge body of work, some of which she created especially for this show. So it was really impressive to be able to see that someone who I know personally, was featured that way. And they had several other exhibits of national artists, many of other folks who I also am familiar with who were on display. They had a James Van Der Zee exhibit, for those of you who are familiar with him. He was African-American photographer in the turn of the century. Most of his work is out of Harlem and the New York area in general. He was one of the photographers who was hired to document middle-class people, for the most part, who didn't necessarily have the professional photographers. I mean, he was African-American. There weren't very many African-American photographers who were documenting middle-class African-American people during the early 1900s. It was a very small exhibit, but what he also showed was Asian American subjects, their families, and Jewish families, and so it showed the diversity of his portfolio, if you will, which I wasn't familiar with. So a lot of good experiences and a lot of good food. It was very hot. We think it's hot here. It's not hot and humid. So
Yeah, we don't have the humidity, right?
no.
Yeah.
So I went at a good time. I'm not sure where it's going to be next year, but I know, Phil, you've asked about the idea of having at least one other person from RACC or PAC also go to the conference next year. So it's about trying to do some planning and in advance to make sure that, I mean, if that's something that you guys want to consider, then this is the time to plan for something like that now. So
Thank you.
that's, yeah, you're welcome. Phil?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that. I'm really happy that you're able to do that, Winifred, and work it in with your vacation, a couple of days, or however you figure that out. Because I know what a wonderful experience it is. And yes, I think that, well, let me give you, I'll give you my experience. I've been to the American for the Arts Conference that she attended 3 times, totally paid for by the Art Commission. Philadelphia, Seattle, and someplace else, I think, maybe New Orleans, I can't remember. But when Michelle was the arts manager, she found the money. And I went 3 times. And each year, 1, 2, or 3 people attended that with her. And one year, 5 members of the Art Commission went with her to the conference. And that was just, I mean, how she found that money, I have no idea. But if, as Winifred mentioned, if we even had one person go, like the chair of the commission, attend that with Winifred, I think it'd be a valuable experience. And there's so many ideas and so many new art forms and crazy stuff. It's just a really good time, as any conference is for that matter. But being in the arts, I also brought back a number of examples of murals and public art and artists. What do you call them? Just to share with the committee. So I think that definitely ought to be something that we put into the budget next year. I know it's kind of late with the timing wise, but I'm sure if the need is there and the vote is there, that Winifred will find the money to do it. So thanks for your report, Winifred.
What category do you think this would fall under, budget-wise?
It'd be under the art manager's budget.
I know, but it would be like training or
Research.
research.
Yeah, research. There you go.
Well, I mean, you're learning from other, so it's networking. I mean, it's, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if that's even a budget item.
Well, I
should
have to
be.
figure out what category it falls under. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious to know how you guys see that. So we'll continue to have a conversation about that, but thank you for asking. Thanks, Flo.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Let us move on to the information items. We have one item to discuss, and that is the current Npa Mini Grant art request for proposals and application. Winifred, this has been posted. online. It is the orientation session is scheduled for this Saturday, I believe, at 11, is it?
Yes.
Saturday at 11 a.m. and will also be recorded so that people can access the information that's discussed at that meeting at their leisure, or again, even if they show up. And as just for everybody to remember, for the first time in the last 3 or 4 years, it is not mandatory that you attend the orientation session. So is there any other news related to or information you want to give us about that?
I could say that this Saturday, Linson, Melissa, and I, and possibly Phil, will conduct the 1 hour long session. As far as the solicitation is concerned, every week and twice a week recently, over 100 people who have been targeted, if you will, with the application, the RFP and the application. And these are people who have requested information in general and just were on a mailing list from our outreach and from other past NPA recipients, the current ones. So I tried to be strategic. So the Facebook, I believe, Melissa, you've been able to post it on Facebook. And it's been in the weekly city manager's weekly newsletter and a variety of other places. So in terms of the response so far, originally what I was trying to do was design it so that people would have to reach out to me in order to get the Zoom access information. So that would give me an idea of how many people were possibly coming. But this week I decided to go ahead and just send them the open invitation for Saturday, whether they reached out to me or not. So far we have at least 10 people who, some of whom are new, most of whom are new actually. And in terms of the idea of not making it mandatory, there's several people who are not new who are already good at these applications, and we didn't feel that it was necessary. So we're going to try to give them as much information on Saturday as they need, and then the deadline is a week later on July the 1st.
Okay, I have a question about that for the future, and I'm gonna hold it when we talk about for the committee reports.
Okay.
But I'm glad that things are moving along and that there is interest in the work. Is there any question regarding that particular information item? Yes, Commissioner Kirk.
So I lost my train of thought all of a sudden. So I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna continue to post it on Facebook and Instagram just because people forget.
That's good.
And then I had another question and I totally forgot what it was. So sorry.
Well, let me ask a question while you're thinking about it. What I saw some email chatter about an agenda for Saturday.
Yes.
Have you all come up with one? Or has anybody been tasked with coming up with?
Yeah,
one?
we've been working on it.
Okay.
Well, actually, so I had offered to do it, but then I saw an email where, so who is gonna do that? Because I can.
Well,
I don't think
Melissa, you, the three of us with Linson, we'll work out the details and maybe
Right.
we just need to talk about it tomorrow. But basically, we have a list of the main things that need to be
Right.
discussed. And we wanted different people to talk about certain items so that it's not just one person having the conversation.
So, but
Yeah,
for
it's
the
just-
agenda itself, because I
sent it to you.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry. I may have missed it. Okay,
Is this the kind of thing where the agenda has to be posted and all of that publicly?
Uh,
Not a meeting.
no, not for
Okay.
invitation,
all
to orient. It's not even orientation, it's just an information session.
Okay,
That's what we're
great.
calling it.
All right.
And we can post it
fantastic.
when we're finished. We'll post it along with the recording for people who, want to be clear about what they're listening
Right.
for the 1 hour.
Okay,
You might want to consider announcing what will be discussed at the beginning of it, so
Yeah.
that people know what's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Any
Okay.
other questions? Yes.
well,
Of course.
that was my
Hold
question.
on, Philip.
Go
My
ahead.
question,
Go ahead,
my question was about, we are gonna be recording it and then we're gonna be able to repost it. Okay, that was
Yeah.
exactly what I was wondering. Okay,
Okay.
My thought was that possibly the commission might request that our liaison, our Winfred, who oversees all this whole project, might come up with some kind of an evaluation of how our program worked this past year. There were a number of issues, I don't know how many, but there were enough issues to come up that I know took a tremendous amount of time, tremendous amount of Winifred's time having to deal with it. These encroachment, the legal stuff, the,
But Philip, excuse me, let me
Yeah.
just interrupt you for a moment. Do
okay.
you think that's appropriate for an information session?
No, this would be separate. This is totally separate.
Oh,
It's just, she just does an evaluation of how the thing worked. And, we could see problems with a couple of different issues that we never foresaw, putting up banners and all the problems that Winfred had to deal with, that we need to do more upfront organizing before this thing gets out of hand again this year.
okay, well, let's talk about that when we get around to talk the mini grant application committee.
Okay.
If
Uh,
I could
so-
just add something to that, Phil. So there's a final report that all the current applicants have to submit, and one of the questions at the end is, how could we do better?
Okay,
So I think that
Yeah.
might respond to what you're asking for.
okay, thanks.
Okay, any other information about this particular information item?
I have a question.
Yes, Tom?
What's the date for announcing the winners of the grants?
Well, so our deadline is July the 1st, and July the 16th. Wait a minute, wrong calendar. July the 14th is the second Thursday of July. And second Thursday of July, we expect to have a short list that we'll be able to announce, but we're not going to be completed with the whole process until after the 28th. On the 28th, which will be the date that we will interview some, but not all. Because last year we decided that we were doing too many interviews. So we'll look at the applications and see which ones we want more information about, and those will be the only ones that we'll be doing interviews on. So that the notice will take place in beginning of September, most likely. We're going to leave August as the time for us to work out any details before we make any announcements.
what was the 28th? Sorry.
The 28th of July
Yeah.
is
I just wanna-
the interview date.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's on here.
Not for everybody, only for
Okay,
those that are needed. Tom, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it just seemed like there should be an announcement date in the notice of when the,
It's in the application.
I was just reading the,
In the application,
item.
in the tables. Let me see where.
Tom, what are you reading?
the link to the neighborhood
Yeah, on page 3.
NPA grant on the website, on the city website.
On page 3, it indicates that September 22nd is when we'll finalize the awardees. And on September 30th, that's when we make the announcement.
Oh, okay.
Do you see that?
Not in what I'm looking at.
On page 3
Well,
of the
this-
RFP,
Looking at doesn't have a page 3.
okay? Of the RFP,
No, I'm looking on the city website
yes,
at fiscal year 22-23 Neighborhood Public Art Mini Grant,
yes,
request for proposals.
yes. So if you press that and you open that up to the 3rd page, that's where you're gonna see the table that has the important dates.
I'll take your word for it. I don't want to pursue this, but I don't see the, how you get to a page 3 on this.
Well, just scroll down, just scroll through it. If it doesn't, it's under application
There's only one
deadline.
page. There's only one page. No, let's just skip it. I
I'll
got
help
your
you.
answer.
Okay. I'll help-
Philip, I mean, do you want to share your screen? I don't know if we have that option here. I mean, Tom, do you want to share your? Screen?
No, this is not a big deal. Let's
Oh,
just
okay.
move on.
Okay, all right. Well, then moving on, if we can, to the committee reports. Oh, before we leave there, I want to say that that schedule that you've just outlined, is there any chance that they will get the money before the beginning of the year?
Yeah, that's why yes,
So
absolutely.
what's the goal for awarding the first piece of the money? Is it before the holidays or?
Yeah, we have September 30th is when we'll announce the awards, which means that's the time we begin to collect all the information for the contracts. And in this table, we say November is when we will have the winners under contract.
Awesome. That's excellent. That's a good 2-month head start from previous years, not just last year. I hope that all works out. Okay, let's go to the Npa Mini Grant Liaison Report updates. I'll start. I attended the production of What Women Want. That was the workshop production that will receive a full production at Masker's Playhouse in the fall. I think they did a magnificent job on an absolute shoestring budget. They had so many people on stage and they were all costumed and it was a musical. There was singing. You would have thought there was an orchestra. There was a guy on the keyboards with synthesizer and accessories. So he did very, very well, their musical director, pulling this together. I was very pleased with it as a workshop production. I was also very pleased that they had a sold out house for Sunday night, the show that I went to. I don't know how the house was on Saturday afternoon when Tom and his wife went, but on Sunday night, when Philip and I attended, they had a sold out house. And it was really wonderful to see everybody out and excited about being in the theater. It was also, I must say, my very first time walking inside Masker's. And I was impressed with it's a small, less than 100-seat theater. Maybe it has a 100-seat theater, but I only counted 88 seats. But it had everything that you needed to be a black box theater. But the facade of it makes it, I thought it was going to be different when I walked inside, but it's your standard black box. And I applaud them for scaling it the way that they have to present the kind of work that they do. And for this workshop to have accommodated itself to the set that was there for their upcoming production, Sordid Lives, it worked very, very well. Very, very well indeed. It was a nice spirit of cooperation between Masker's and this fledgling producer. So I was quite pleased with that. I do not have a final report to give you for the neighborhood council just flew out of my head. I want to say Richmond Heights, and I know that's not the name of the group. But anyway, the North Richmond Jimmy McCracklin project. But they have been advised that their final reports are due and they're all working on them and they will have them in on time and appropriately. Anyone else want to report on what their groups are doing as we near final report time? Yes, Philip.
I just gotta make a comment on that Maskers. That also was my first time I've ever seen a production of Maskers in the 22 years I've been in Richmond. I mean, how embarrassing. They also acknowledged and thanked the art commission
Oh, yes, they did.
a couple of times,
Yeah.
very clear. And the whole scene felt like a kind of a community there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody seemed to know everybody else in the audience,
Yeah.
and they seemed to know all the actors, and especially the producers and writers. And I mean, it was just a tight knit group, and it was really fun to be and hear that and see the laughter. And so anyway, I'm glad I went. It was a good experience.
Thank you for bringing up that they mentioned RACC in their program. They mentioned RACC in the beginning when they opened up and welcomed everyone. It was, they really, really gave us our props.
Yes.
Anyone else want to talk about any of their liaison activities as we near the end of this cycle? Please remember, final reports are due. They must be comprehensive.
Well, so my guy just disappeared again. So he hasn't done, because I don't know what to do. He got a job and then he just basically stopped communicating with me. So should I just, I mean, I don't think we even gave him any money. So what do we, do I just?
Well,
Which project is this?
Anthony Edwards, the
trail writer?
Yeah, I sent him kind of a firm email today saying, let's get on a call, because I haven't really, I've asked him several times for some kind of update. He hasn't given me anything. So I want to talk to him, just figure it out, but I'm not sure he's made any forward motion at all.
Winifred, did he ever finish his process with you and Shanae?
Well, he did have a contract and
Right.
he
I
did
don't
turn
think,
in.
did he get paid anything? Because I don't think he's done anything. So I don't think he's submitted any invoices or anything.
I think you're right. Let me just double check that. But I can say that he did submit information. Let me just see, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he didn't submit an invoice yet. And in all fairness, we're going to wait until the deadline. Maybe he will have something that he'll have that will show evidence that he's been working on something, because there are a couple others who have not submitted invoices at all.
Yeah.
And he did indicate, because I reached out to him also,
Mhm.
he said that he promised you something. So he said that he's working on it. So
Okay. Okay. I don't think I saw
good.
that, because all right, I will just keep checking in, because
I think that's all we can do at this point. We're definitely, looks like we're going to end up having some money left on the table.
right.
Winifred, did
Yeah.
did Doug Harris, what he sent you, there was some confusion in the email about whether he said he had turned in his final report?
Yeah, we've spoken over the last couple of days, and so here's a situation that we want to try to avoid. When people are submitting their reports and some of the pages are blank and they're saying that they submitted the pages, what we need you guys to do is actually read the reports that they submit to make sure that if there's invoices, if there's receipts, they need to be submitting copies of their receipts. Some people are not necessarily doing that. They didn't necessarily keep track all the way along the way. So now they're at the end of the report and they don't have all their, documents in order. So people have another, in the ideal world, they have another week in order to pull all of their documents together, but it would really be helpful for us to, if you guys, like I said, would, when you request the invoices, look at them before you pass them on to us. Because, well, there's like 19. So it really helps if you guys could at least look at it first to be able to see that if it's a blank invoice, they gotta be able to, this is the time that they have to actually provide us with some backup information.
Absolutely. And the 30th is next
Thursday.
Wednesday, next Thursday.
Yeah.
So we are down to the wire.
Well, Flo, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, I keep thinking about that and how much responsibility do the liaisons take for completing the paperwork that these guys are getting paid for?
Oh, we don't take any responsibility for completing the paperwork, but Winifred makes an excellent point. We should at the very least take a look at it before they turn it in.
So they should turn it into us first. And we look at it and then judge whether it's complete or not. So we're monitoring the paperwork. We're taking.
Yeah, I guess I'm hearing you say that you haven't done this before. It really, what's missing will glare out at you. You will know immediately, well, this says you spent, but there's no receipt for it. And what are all these receipts for? You haven't labeled them. I mean, it's really simple stuff. Their responsibility is the report, the language of the report. We don't get involved in that. That's on them. But to make sure that it's complete, I think is part of our liaison responsibility, just to make sure it's complete. Whether they do it right or wrong is kind of up to them, because you don't want to get involved in censorship or telling them how to do what they do.
Yeah.
But just to make sure that everything it says in the form is supposed to be in the final report is actually there. That's all.
And here's a simple example. The invoice had like 10 line items and a total. But there was no breakdown of the line items to let us know how it added up to the total. So like, that would be the kind of thing that if you could look at before it gets to me, then you could just ask them to complete the document. I
And
mean,
here's your carrot on the stick. Unlike previous years when they had the money already. They don't get the rest of the money until this report is approved, not just accepted, but all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Well,
So
let me ask then, how much responsibility should we take for that? If, for example, they all turned in budgets to apply for the grant.
right,
So we had all their budgets in the beginning and they totaled up to 8,000 or 6 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now, when they turn in their invoice and the report, they say, we spent $8,000 as we projected.
right.
Why do we actually need a line item for item of how they expended that money? If that's what they proposed and we approved in the beginning.
Yeah, but I think maybe Winifred didn't explain. The line item didn't have an amount with it. You gave me $8,000. I spent it on these 10 things. Rather than saying I spent 1,000 of it here. I spent 500 of it here. I spent 300 of it here. You know, it's not just about line items. It's line items have numbers that go with them so that you come up with a final amount. But again, that's an outlier example because it doesn't happen as frequently as things missing, as things not being labeled.
and if you prefer not to, just say, I don't want to do it. And
Right, and don't.
and I'll take care of it, but
Yeah, but
I'm just trying to streamline when we've had 16, actually 19 applications, and we've got to look through all of them. We're not just automatically paying them. So it becomes an accountability issue. The first invoice, we didn't ask for anything. That's so the
Right.
second one, they have to be able to match what they said they were going to do with what they did. That's really what it comes down
And
to.
this is the world of grants. This is a reimbursement situation. You have to be able to show what you spent. Proof, that's what the receipts are, labeled, you know? It's, and if it is too complicated or not something that you feel comfortable with, then you need to just let Winifred know, and she can know that when that one comes in, she's gonna have to go through it herself.
No, I've done hundreds of them, actually.
Okay, I had a feeling. Any other questions about the final reports that are due a week from today? Okay, then let's move on. Who is presenting the PAC report in the absence of the chair?
I guess that's me. I spoke with Linson earlier, so I don't know what happened to her. But let me just find my notes here. Sorry, just give me one.
Well, while you're looking for that, I want to have a conversation about the mini grant application committee going forward. You guys, you know, we say in the application that you can't apply, not that you can't apply. There's some language in the application that you can only apply so many times. Right?
That should have been taken out.
Well, here's the thing. If you can't continue to apply, like, I guess, I don't know what the threshold is, because I think of people like Verde School. This is their third time this last cycle that they came to the table. What we're doing is we're risking creating a ghetto, if you will, because you have the people at the top of the food chain that are line items in the city's budget, the art museum, the East Bay Center for the Performing Arts. And then you have the emerging people at the bottom of the food chain who are just getting their feet wet in the world of presenting and whatever. And maybe they're in the beginning to 5-year range, but there's a whole world of artists that have been funded that are in the 5-year to not quite the level of being a line item in the city's budget. And if we tell people they can't keep coming back, then where are they supposed to go? Why can't they get city support? So I say all of that in preface to saying, I think as the commission grows, you might want to look at another level of funding other than people just coming out for the first time this evening. I mean, for the first time or the second time. You know, there are some people whose names I could call that you would know. So are we saying to them they can't keep having ideas for things they want to do and coming to us for support for them? I get confused when I read the instructions that say you can't continue to apply.
Well,
Or am I reading it the wrong way?
well, I think what we were trying to encourage is that they work with, it's not just the same people. Maybe they can partner up with someone to build on whatever they've started. So, but you know, we have to have some flexibility, I think really is what I hear you say. And depending on how many applications we receive, that's what helps determine how flexible we will become.
Well,
When we
Because we have
also,
several people who have not read that clause, and people are planning on applying whether they read that or not, you know, so then what do we do?
well, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
I can't think of a legitimate reason why they shouldn't be able to apply. I mean, who's gonna tell a Richard Salazar? And that's a completely out of the blue example. I have not talked to Richard, but
Right.
somebody of that stature who
Mhm.
has come to us before and successfully executed projects, who's gonna say to him, you've been to the table too many times, you can't come back. We don't want to be that kind of commission. And as we get staffed, as we get new management, as we continue to raise funds, as the commission does, I really want you all to consider that part of growth is inviting more people to the table. Of variety, some diversity, not just emerging, not just established, but the middle class of artists, the bread and butter people. You guys understand what I'm saying? Do you have any feedback on that?
Did you, so I just read the page, and so it's, I mean, I totally hear what you're saying. And the way it seems like it's worded to me is it's sort of like a suggestion that if you've gotten 2 grants, maybe you could consider collaborating with an emerging artist. So do you think that that's still too limiting or restricting?
I don't know. Let's see how it works. I just don't want to eliminate anybody.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I just don't. And again, for the record, I have not had a conversation with Richard Salazar. I just pulled his name out of the ether as an example of an established artist who has been to us more than once and successfully executed projects. There's the music program that it's, I don't know if it's Tom's group or Philip's group, the recording studio.
Mark, yeah. Mark
Yeah.
Anthony.
They're doing such fantastic work. I mean, I want that thing to grow. I'd like them to outgrow the physical facility where there's so many kids that want to take advantage of it, you know? But
So,
again, city council's got to give us more money.
yeah, because I really like the idea of a sort of a grant for, I don't know what's the word, growth,
Capacity.
maintenance. I don't know what the word is.
Capacity building.
Yeah, or something, and then also one for emerging artists where there's a component of training people on how to apply for grants and how to do a pitch or presentation. I could see both those things being really important to the community. So yeah, let's just get some more money.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. I just wanted to put that on the table. Winifred, you ready for the PAC report now?
Yeah,
And then we can
Tom.
come back to this, or did you have?
I'm not sure if
comment.
Tom was trying to say something.
Oh, sorry, Tom. Yes.
Oh, I just want to say the knife cuts both ways on whether to limit groups to say 3 awards within a certain period of time. Because if the experienced, really capable groups are repeating each time, that eliminates less experienced, less capable people at the bottom of the food chain who might be qualified to get into it. So we could end up at some point with a lot of repeating artists in the program, and that would eliminate a lot of budding wannabe artists that are applying, but their applications just don't look as good as the experienced ones.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's a slippery slope. It's a tricky maneuver, but as long as we keep the idea of inclusion in our hearts and in our minds as commissioners, we'll find a way to keep the balance. Like we in the old, we look for balance among the different genres of the arts. We can look for balance among the
Have some architects.
the level the
Well,
levels.
I hope we continue to be good judges of these things.
I hope so too, and I have every faith that it will happen. I do. Can we have the PAC report now? Thank you.
Yeah, and the last note on that, I'm just thinking that as far as the language of the next application, I'm making note of the things that we need to make some adjustments on next time. So clearly this is one of the items that we need to make an adjustment on, and I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
You might
But-
also
but-
want to be prepared to talk about it on Saturday if somebody brings it up.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so moving on. As far as the public art report is concerned, I'm just going to go over a couple of items. Basically, this was pulled from the report that you received of all the different projects that I've been working on each month. So the first one is the public art master plan. Now, typically what I've been trying to do is give you the full report for one full month. So we're in June still, so this is a May report, if you will.
Right.
And so the public art master plan, and I just had to make that statement because I'm going to give you an update that just happened this week. So the city council approved the contract for the public art master plan with
Great.
Barbara Goldstein and her team for $35,000, and we're making it a 12-month contract. So you'll hear more about that soon, but that's really great news. if
It's
you
a
ask me.
beginning. It's a
Yes.
beginning, yeah.
The next item, Phil brought it up earlier in terms of encroachment permits. Yeah, you're right. There are certain things that we have to be able to get up a fast learning curve on when we're saying to the public that you can apply for any different kind of project, and different kind of projects require different kind of permissions that in some cases we don't know what those permissions are until the application actually takes place. So we thought that we were going to have encroachment permits required, for instance, for the banners. And we still have to go through a whole process with Public Works to go through the application and see whether or not they are going to charge us or not. In this case, for the 2 banner projects, we were not charged encroachment fees, which, you know, that's a great thing because it could be up to $600. But the reason why we were not charged is because we work with Public Works, and the Public Works team knows exactly what they're doing and how to cordon off traffic. And if it were an independent contractor, then we would be charged a fee. But so that was something I learned, and that's a good thing to know. However, it also means that in this case, for both banner installations, one for the COVID relief banners for the Richmond Main Street Initiative, and also for Fred Franklin's banners, the COVID vax banners. Hopefully you guys have noticed these banners have gone up for different parts of the city. We had to pay Saturday Public Works staff overtime in order to get those banners installed in a reasonable period of time. Instead of taking 3 or 4 days, we opted for paying overtime on a Saturday, which meant that we started at 7:30 in the morning and we were finished by 2. But that's the best way for us to keep it was more efficient, put it that way.
So where'd the money come from to pay for that?
That's part of the public art fund.
Oh, okay, because we couldn't anticipate that was gonna be necessary.
Exactly. But then that also, you know, if we look at the full fund of the $65,000 that we had for the Npa Mini Grant and the $50,000 that we have for the COVID relief, we didn't spend all of those dollars based on what we just discovered tonight. Some
Right.
people are not going to ask for the invoices, so the difference is going to pay for some of these unexpected expenses that we have to pay for.
Excellent.
So on one hand, you know, banners are good, but on the other hand, we need to make sure that we account for all of the extra expenses that, you know, that will come up. Okay, next one. Spark, I already gave you the information on Spark. The neighborhood council. When I at the tail end, maybe Tom can give that report on the neighborhood councils. the Nevin Plaza Public Art project reminded me that a checklist is required for developers when they finish their process for me to be able to give them a checklist to say you did this, that, and the other, so that they can go and pass that on to the design review board or city council or whoever is asking whether or not they completed the requirements. So I did pass out the checklist to everyone and didn't really get any comments back. So I'm going to keep on working on it, and within the next 30 days, it should be finished. We have Mark Metz, who is working on the West Contra Costa County Family Justice Center project. He has had some challenges between insurance, getting short-term insurance, and now finding an engineer who can give him a reasonable price for the design drawings that will be required for this project. Last week, we met with the staff engineers at the site to let Mark know what the limitations are for the work that he is going to be assigned to do. So we're moving slowly, much slower than we expected. Uquay Park, you guys have received the,
Go back to Mark Metz.
yeah,
I mean, did all this stuff just slip through him or us? These requirements, the additional, the engineering permit, you mentioned that a couple months ago.
well, he knew that these were going to be required. Apparently on other projects that he's worked on with other cities, they figured out a way to not charge him for certain things. So I guess he thought he would have more flexibility. And basically for the,
Who's he talking to about that? He thinks he has more flexibility. Wasn't it defined for him or not?
oh, it was clear, but all I can say is that, like I said, with the insurance, he had a hard time finding an insurer to cover him. And I can't speed up that process because that's his responsibility.
Yeah.
We're not paying for the insurance. We'll reimburse him for the insurance, but we're not doing all the research for him. I mean, I offered him a list of other insurance agencies that other artists have used successfully. And once again, I can provide information, but I can't do the work for the artist. Same with the engineers. He was trying to find, it's only a $10,000 project. And it doesn't make sense for him to have to pay more than $1,500 to $2,000, maybe $2,500 for the fee, but the engineers that he was receiving information from were charging much more than that. So it's a process. That's all I can say.
Well, it seems like we should know key people in different departments that can advise us on this kind of stuff. So
Well, we have, and I've given him the list of the engineers that came from the planning department. So I can provide the list, but it's up to him to do the research. I can't, that's a conflict for me to do the research and select also.
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so this has been a little frustrating, but at the same time, I have to go with the flow, as they say. Excuse me.
It's also very informative because it means that as the artists are thinking of things they want to apply for grants for, they need to think beyond that, the particular creative aspect of it, to think about what is it really going to take for this to happen all the way through. If I need insurance, do I know insurance brokers? If I need permits, who do I know that can help walk me through that? If I need engineers, what am I gonna need to make this happen? Not just, this is a great idea, give me the money to do it, but be conscious and aware of what's involved in making it happen. Because Winifred is absolutely right. She cannot step in and decide for them. That's such a clear conflict of interest that it doesn't even need any explanation. But it does put the onus of it back on the artist. And I'm going back to something Philip said earlier. Some of this has to be done in the beginning of the process, rather than we're here, you got a contract, we've given you money, and now we're playing catch up.
Right.
Because I mean, this situation is a bit of an outlier. I don't see that happening in the process, in the programs that, since Winifred is here, she's handled from beginning to end. I don't see that happening. But you kind of came in on the end or the middle of this one.
Yeah, well, of this one, they should have been charged, there should have been engineering drawings as a part of the requirement for the previous artist, and that
It
never
just didn't
happened.
happen. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so anyway, we're moving forward, and
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, that could be, maybe, is there a way to have a step in the process of somewhere in the process of issuing grants where there's like a checklist or something where people really do understand what they need? Because I was like, some kind of thing, like, this is your list of what you need to do. You know, like, is there a way to make it
Clearer, more
like,
clear?
well, yeah, like part of the process, yeah, like communicate it in a way that makes it clearer and it gives people resources to do that, because I think that it might just be part of the problem is that people don't know that they need that or how to get it or whatever.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What I've learned is that even though you may have the language in the RFP that states that these are the things that you need to consider, the same way on that one page for the Npa Mini Grant at the very end, we say, these are some of the things you need to think about.
Yeah.
So some people don't read all of that though.
I know.
Oh, they think it doesn't apply to them.
Well, that's
Right. And
I think the other point is how do they even know? How do we even know some of these additional requirements? That has to be somewhere in the process. Here's a guy, he presents, we had 3 different artists present possibilities for that Justice Center, right?
yeah.
So we selected the one guy. Now, at that point, it seems like that's when we should have drawn in a couple of experts, architects or engineers, and say, hey, is there any problem with this design?
Application? Yeah, well,
Help us out, you know what I mean?
well, we do give the applications to the planning department just so that they can verify that, you know, they're reasonable applications. But we do also put all this information in the RFP. So, you know, it's a learning curve. That's all I can say.
Did you say you sent all these applications to the planning department?
The response for the 3 applicants,
Uh-huh.
that they saw the applications so that they could see whether or not they were reasonable.
Okay.
I mean, I could make a judgment, but I'm also, you know, this is a collaborative effort. There's quite a few different departments that are involved on these projects. It's not just me.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Yeah.
Okay, do you have more of the PAC report?
Well, the Oakway
Because I
Park,
wanted to get to Tom. I don't know if he heard, because I want to hear what's happening with the neighborhood councils.
maybe I can give you 2 more things and then we'll move on. One is the Oakway Park. We're almost
right.
finished with the signage. I've passed out all of the draft to everybody. Next Thursday, we're going to be meeting at the park with Deja, Karina, any other people who are interested in verifying the placement of where the signage is going and all of the final things that the graphic designer needs to do in order for us to sign off on her part. And then the next step is for me to take this information, which I actually already did send the drafts to the Thomas Swan Company, who is the signage company that's going to be doing the fabrication and the installation. They have everything that you guys have so that they can requote if they need to requote, because that's a contract that has to be established and it'll be over $10,000 So that means it obviously is going to go through city council and all the other processes. So we're working on it. But hopefully you like what you've seen so far. Since I haven't gotten very many comments back, I'm just going to assume that that's the case. So if you're interested in more, come next Thursday at 11 o'clock. If not, or either way, just let me know what you think.
I plan to be there on Thursday.
Good.
Great.
It's usually the same folks, and I appreciate it, because you guys have been watching this from the very beginning, and that's important for you to watch it at the end as well. So the only other thing I'll share is a Caltrans project. It started with a $1.3 million budget. They asked us to shave off 200,000. And within the next month, we expect that there's going to be a memo of understanding established between Caltrans and the city. The public art part is a small part. It's a beautification project. So there's landscaping and fencing and some other parts that are also part of the $5 million in total that I'm on the team for, or we're on the team for. And this is for the new murals that will be in the underpass across from where John Worley's murals are currently on McDonald and San Pablo. So whichever artists are selected, and there'll be, we haven't decided what the whole process is going to be like, but whichever artists are selected, whatever theme or design they come up with needs to complement what's existing on the other side. So that's going to be a real special kind of a challenge. However, the artists that we're going to most likely consider are the same artists who worked on those other murals with John Worley, because they were like, in their 20s or so, 20 years ago, when they worked on that mural, and now they're all established artists and they can come up with their own concepts that will complement what's existing. And so
Is that,
That's a great story.
is that Caltrans leaving the selection of the artists up to whom?
up to us,
Us meaning the commission?
the public art, yes.
That's
We'll
what I
manage
understand.
the process of the selection, but they don't want it to be a long drawn out, kind of a process. So most likely it will be an invitation or limited call, as opposed to everybody and, their mother can apply for this type project, because it won't be that type project.
What's the theme?
Well, that's why I just described that
I
it
mean,
has to complement.
I know they're across from John Worley's murals.
So some kind of Richmond history, something, but we don't know yet.
It
Okay,
could be Richmond future. It could be Richmond futurism. I mean, as long as it works, as it matches, as it doesn't clash.
As long as it's complementary, that's the bottom
There's
line.
the word. That's the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for.
okay.
Complementary.
So they're going to give us 18 months from the time that we start the contract to finishing the contract. So that's where we are right now. I don't have more information than that.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. Can we go
Yep.
to the neighborhood council?
yep.
Tom, where are we with that? Let me just say, at the last meeting, according to the minutes, the understanding was that we would go beyond the parent body, as it were, and go directly to the councils to get more buy-in.
Okay.
direct
All right,
involvement.
yes, that was, the idea was to contact the neighborhood council presidents directly. So today, after consulting with Emily and Winifred, I sent out an email to all the neighborhood council presidents. I think there's about 60 or 70 of them. I didn't count them exactly. And then I'm planning to follow those emails up with a phone call to each one that has a phone number listed with the city, and that's about half of them. And so I actually made 2 contacts today. One group filed an expression of interest. That was from the Hilltop neighborhood, which is a public art desert, in fact.
Yeah,
And they're very interested in having something to replace a sign that once welcomed people to the mall. And the sign, the big elaborate sign has been taken away, and there's a space there for a very prominent artwork. So
It's wonderful.
something that we should take a look at. And then in response to the email, I got a call from a guy in Point Richmond who is also very interested in applying for the project, and they have a site at the park at cutting. We're cutting dead ends into Point Richmond, and the Mechanics Bank is there in the
Right.
old railroad station. And across from there in the park, they're going to be rejuvenating the park and building, according to Phil, building some brick walkways using original bricks from the brickyard. The
Nice.
brickyard had this huge brick chimney, which apparently they've been dismantling, and they've saved all the bricks. So these antique bricks from the 19th century, I believe, are available for other projects. So they're thinking about walkways or borders or something like that.
Oh, that's lovely.
And they're also when they heard about the opportunity for a public art installation, they got really excited about it, and they're going to apply. So we're going to have at least 2 expressions of interest. And I haven't started really going through the phone call list, but Emily and I are going to divide that up, and within the next few days, call everybody that we can possibly call and see if we can generate a few more. I'd like to see at least half a dozen at least inquiries or expressions of interest on this. And so I feel we're off to a good start anyway.
Oh, I'm so encouraged by this. I think this is one of the most exciting projects to come along in a very, very, very long time. Because every neighborhood has some spot that's crying out for a piece of art. And to ask the neighborhoods themselves to identify it, to not only identify the spot, but to put some thought into what they would like to see there. It's just a continuation of that project that Michelle and a couple of other commissioners had talked with UC Berkeley about. You remember we had the conversations? They had started with the Iron Triangle neighborhood. It's a real lovely evolution of that into something that has real money behind it and that could actually happen. I'm excited about this. I can't wait 5 years down the road to see these things actually happen. You know, oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
That would be really exciting, yes. Flo.
Yeah, that's just fabulous. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you guys for following through on that and putting in the sweat equity.
Yeah, Tom and Emily have taken the lead on this, and I'm just trying to provide some support. So one of the things that I'm working on is kind of the legal side of what we're trying to accomplish here, because we have to evaluate where the work actually ends up.
Sure.
Who actually ends up owning the work, if we're talking about putting the work on city property as opposed to private property, or whatever, wherever it goes, you know, we have to address certain art laws, if you will. So right now we do have one application from Hilltop, one from the Iron Triangle, and one, as it sounds like, Tom, you're saying the Point Richmond one is probably going to come soon.
I haven't seen the one from the Iron Triangle, I don't think.
I think I sent it was last week, but I'll resend it to you.
Okay, good.
But also on the Hilltop one, there's a private owner for all that property. So we just have to, they need to know who owns where the sign was. They took the sign down, and I believe they're trying to put the sign back up, a different version of the sign. So we need to follow up. Maybe that's me, follow up to verify that they know who owns that particular property, because it's not a city property. But it's a good location. And that's
Mm.
all we
Yeah.
ask. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great.
Winifred, where's the location in the Iron Triangle?
It's also on a private property that's like a compound for the Scientific Arts Studio. They have like 5 buildings and quite a few blank walls that have been tagged. So they're walls that could be viewed from quite a distance if they were murals that are placed on these walls. And we would hypothetically, regardless of who's selected, the next step after selecting someone would be to work with our team, if you will, to identify what the theme is and what type of artists would qualify. And then there'll be, like I said, a limited call for some very specific types of artists who can do the specific types of things that the neighborhoods are saying that they want. So it's not
Right.
going to be just a random, call for artists. It'll be very, very specific.
Excellent. It'll have to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I know that Hilltop Project, they're giving an example of something that they've seen in another city that they want to see happen here. And it might be sculpture, it has water, and this project, most likely, even though $100,000 sounds like it's a whole lot of money, unless it's a new construction project where, let's say, utilities are already integrated into the project. If the utilities are already part of the project, then that's construction dollars. That's fine. But if they're not, this project may not be able to have enough money in order to do that. So what they were suggesting is that we find money from other grants to balance out the funding. So. those are
Well,
the
I
things-
mean, is this something that the new owners couldn't partner with them to create?
Well, we'll find out.
Okay, all right.
That's part
There's
of the,
time.
that's part of the
There's time.
exploration here.
I also think that public art ought to go on public land. I'm not too excited about putting it on private property. There's too much long-term issues with that. And it's, I mean, that's the purpose of it, public art in a neighborhood.
Yeah, well, that's,
Put it on-
actually, I think the second notice that went out, that Tom and Emily put together, they identified some examples. It could be school property or a median, or what was the third one, Tom?
The school's public.
Well,
Park.
parks.
Yeah,
So-
and medians, I love medians, the idea of putting art in medians. you know.
Well, as far as the parks are concerned, I think one thing that all of us could do as we're driving around, in some of these neighborhoods that have parks with no art, just be able to, say, well, this is a potential location. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see why we can't also have our
Identify,
antennas up
yeah.
to be able to find out, and then we reach out to the community center, for instance, if they don't have some artwork on their walls.
That's
But,
a good idea.
well, we got to be creative here. We can't just do things with one approach. As
Mm.
far as the schools are concerned, one of the things that I've learned recently, if we're talking about the schools, then we have to partner with West Contra Costa County Unified School District. We can't just work on our
Cherry
own.
pick our schools.
Yeah, because basically the little library project is an example where the artist didn't realize that he had to get extra permission from the facilities, not just the principal, facilities for that whole unified school district. And that's where we are now with working with him to make sure that he can actually dig the holes to install the libraries, because you can't just randomly go on their property and dig a hole and put the library there. So same thing with the murals, with the schools. If there are schools without murals, or it's not just murals, just using that as an example. Okay.
Well, let me ask Tom as a part of this again. It sounds like Winifred, what I'm interpreting is it's a two-way deal here. We're sending out notices to all the presidents, which is a great idea, asking them or explaining the process. And then you're also saying, Winifred, that you think up of a theme and you look around for places to place it and then suggest to that neighborhood council, this is what we found. That's a two-way thing. I thought it was all, we would provide the money and they provide the creative aspect of it with our, we can help them, of course. I'm just a little confused, Tom, on this. But you're muted, Tom. Tom, you're muted.
It's just adding a little stimulation to the pot, Phil, because the initial reach out to the neighborhood councils resulted in 0 replies. And I think it's possibly because they'd never encountered anything like that before. And so they need a little nudge. That's what my idea was, to nudge them a little bit with an email and a phone call. And if we see a place that would really be a great spot, then why not suggest it to the neighborhood council?
Right, they don't have to agree, but it gives them an idea of the kind of thing that's possible.
Yeah, it's just, we're just nudging them a little bit here and there.
That's fine. I was just curious about it.
But we would want them to come up with a thematic direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the neighborhood council is the artist in this beginning process. They have to come up with the what.
Yeah, and then we would help manage the selection process and the things that we do, because that's not what they do.
Sure.
And have one of their representatives on the selection panel, or, have some, so that it is an inclusive
Oh, God.
situation.
I wish there was money to hire somebody to document this process, because I'm telling you, this is a very important thing that's getting ready to happen. It really, really is. And I'd like to see it documented step by step, because it's instructive for other communities around the country, certainly. But just the way that this came together and the way it's evolving, and all of the stakeholders that are involved to make this happen, it's really going to be a feather in Richmond's cap. It really, really is. Nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is saying to their neighborhoods, what kind of public art you want? Talk to me. It's not happening, but it's happening in Richmond. And I'm very, very proud of that. So hats off to everybody that's got a piece of this. And please document. Winifred will one day take the stage at the Conference of Americans for the Arts and present this project. I'm telling you, I feel it. I feel it.
I love your vision, Flo.
Thank you. So we can move on. We're NV8, we're in our last 25 minutes.
I just wanted to say, I think we should make bumper stickers that say it's happening in Richmond. That's such a cool tagline.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, however you want to interpret that. Volunteer outreach, is there any, that's pretty much been put on hold, or what's happening with that?
Well, we continue to have volunteers who are coming to our meetings. Kino was here earlier, and she's been here on a regular basis, so she's definitely indicating that she wants to work with us in some kind of way.
Great.
And as Cordell has mentioned, the mayor is mentioning that there's an opportunity for people to apply for future commission positions.
He opened his mouth and said that.
Well, every once a month he says that, and
He didn't say
it's a tough situation for us to be in, for him to say that out of one side and then not do anything about it. So, so basically, we know what the situation is, and we are going to keep on working. And in January of next year, well, actually in November, once we know who the new mayor is, I think that we need to make sure to establish a relationship with that person before January, so that we have all of our list of people who have applied, that person knows that we have a waiting list, and that we need these positions to be filled as quickly as possible.
Excellent.
So
Okay.
volunteer outreach basically is kind of on hold.
Gotcha. Yes.
Okay,
Kurt.
so, because I did make a little flyer a while ago and then I sort of dropped it, but I mean, I could do recruit, like I could post on, Facebook and stuff about needing volunteers if we still do. Or do you think we should?
I think we,
Should we?
but I don't know there'll ever come a time when we can't use more hands on deck.
Yeah, it's just that we need we need a process to onboard people and then assign things to them. And I don't, but I mean, I'm happy to kind of pick this thing that I dropped and like have a little, like a flyer we could post on social media if we have a way that we're gonna get people involved in, because I see there's people who say they want to volunteer, but I don't know if they're actually doing anything. So like, is there like an onboarding process or a way to get them like work to do?
Well, I think that's the key right there. We need to be
Yeah.
able to have some bullet points to say, these are the kind of things that we need help with.
And then we have to, and then we
As
have
part
to,
of the flyer.
yeah, but then we also have to actually have each person, somebody has to manage that. And I don't know if, do we have the people power to do that? I'm not sure.
I thought
maybe
we
you could
had
come
to
up with
go
a
through the
draft.
city's volunteer
Oh, that's right.
protocols.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that what we were told? That the city of Richmond has a way to collect and assign volunteers, and then we have to go through that?
Yeah, so I
What
can
we
give you
get
the
to
link,
do is
Melissa.
be specific about what our needs are. But the
Right.
city has a way, once somebody says, oh, I think I want to volunteer, and then they go through the city system.
There's an application process, but I guess I'm talking more about when somebody is a volunteer, who's managing that person and assigning them things to do.
That'd be.
That would
You guys
be
wanna read-
Winifred
okay.
Day.
Okay, so do you?
That's
Yeah,
her job description, line 200,058.
I know, like, so should I, because I can post some things on social and just, if we are
Let me
looking
make
for
a
more people.
suggestion. I'd like to make a suggestion.
Mhm.
I think, Melissa, that you know enough about what we need to come up with the bullet points that you mentioned for the flyer are the same as the tasks that you can
Yeah,
volunteer to do.
Yeah.
So if you could put that together, and then when people volunteer, they can pick from those categories,
yeah,
you know?
okay, yeah, okay.
I mean, they'll have to start by coming to meetings and getting
Right.
familiar with how we work, how the commission
Right.
works.
And I guess, so what needs to happen is they go through the application, the volunteer application process with the city. Then Winifred takes them on, and then we have a list of things that we would like people to do. And then I guess that just gets assigned to them.
I think
how about we put this in writing?
I think the first thing they need to do is come to meetings and
Yeah.
familiarize
Oh, for sure.
themselves with the work
Yes.
of the commission.
Yes,
So they know what they're volunteering to get involved with.
yes,
Yeah, there needs to be a personal contact before they get into the city
yeah,
application.
Right.
I mean,
Right,
that
right.
thing is so boring. And
it's a city, it's,
in other words, if you put out a little flyer or whatever you're gonna do, make you the contact person, or make someone the contact person, give them more information, and say, if they really sound interested, then you can refer them to Winifred or refer them to the city forms department, so they can fill out these forms. But there's gotta be some personal contact in the beginning.
yeah. Mhm.
So maybe I could make a suggestion between now and our July meeting. We frame this and create I hate to say it, but we got to write it down. Because Melissa, you're doing a good job of, explaining what you'd like to see. So we'll have to put it in writing, and then next meeting, we discuss it some more in order to agree. Because this is not something that's gonna happen immediately, plus we've got like 6 months, quite frank, 4 months maybe, to really
Yeah.
kind of work it out.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got a few more things left on our agenda. Thank you, Melissa. I think that's gonna be a part of your legacy with the
All right,
commission.
I'll write up what I think needs to happen, and then I can send it over. We can review it.
Send
Yeah.
it to everybody and then get feedback,
Okay.
and yeah, that'd be great.
Cool.
Thank you.
Winifred, I don't think that we need to have the staff report because you presented it in writing and you presented pieces of it in several different spots in the meeting. Unless you think there's more in your staff report you want to review with us?
Well, the only thing I wanted to share was regarding an update on the Art Academy University Scholarship, Summer Scholarship Program.
Uh-huh.
There are, I believe, about 10 students from Richmond high schools, not just Richmond High School, but Kennedy and Salesian and other leadership high school, who have completely registered
Right.
for the summer program. It's a 6-week program, and next time I'll have more information, but I wanted you to
That's
at least know
great.
that we have, I believe, 10 students who have fully
Awesome.
applied, and they had to meet with the parents and the university is taking care of all of that, but I thought that you might want to know. We're moving along. So it's something that every year, as long as I'm able and involved, it would be something that I'd like to see happen on a regular basis, not just once. So this is something that happened 10 years ago
All
when
right.
I was an art consultant to the city, and I'm glad that the university remembered the project and how successful it was then, and they're happy to continue it. So
And see, there's your part of your legacy. It's happening. Thank you. I'm
You're
glad that we got the chance to read that into the record.
Winifred, what's the Art Commission's relationship to that?
what would you like it to be?
The program's been going, you say.
Let me step in here for a second.
For 10 years.
Let me step in here for just a second.
What is our connection to that?
And let me just step in here for a second. At the moment, this is a program initiative of the Arts and Culture Manager. The commission is not involved with this other than knowing about it and supporting her in pursuing it. When she brought it to us a couple of months ago, it was, here's something that is an opportunity for us to let them get the word out about this and make this opportunity available for some students.
That's fine. I just wanted to understand the separation there. That's fine.
Yeah, it's an initiative of
Sure.
the Arts and Culture Manager's office.
Okay.
It's not a commission. It's like a presidential executive privilege. She gets to pick some things she wants to do, and this is one of them. Am I misinterpreting it?
I think that's accurate. I mean, it could be more inclusive, but the university has a whole team of people who manage all of the communication with the artists and not the artists, the students and the schools. And so I consider myself as a facilitator.
Yeah.
That's all.
If we ever get an arts and education program going, then we can begin to pull some things like this together. Philip, is that sufficient? You got it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great. So are there any grantee events coming up? We're now at the announcement of upcoming events. I see we still have Juneteenth on here.
Well, when I put this together, it was Juneteenth hadn't happened, so
Okay, great.
yeah.
Takes a minute.
So the Richmond Main Street Initiative, this coming Saturday, the 25th, is when they're having their unveiling of the mural, excuse me, of the banners at 10
What
o'clock on
time?
Saturday. So
Oh,
unfortunately,
yeah.
they didn't communicate with us to find out if we were available. So looks like none of us really are available to go to the unveiling, unfortunately. Unless you guys can go at 10 o'clock and then also come at 11 o'clock for the information session. So,
No, I can't
yeah.
do that. What's the Love Your Block up to?
Well, they have a couple of projects that at our next meeting, they're looking for us to approve. They're related to a community, the Parchester Community Center mural is going to be restored. I won't say repainted, but apparently it may have had some tagging or in some kind of way, they just want to freshen it up. So they are coming to us in order to ask to actually, they're coming to us, but the fact that they're not making any changes to the mural, I told them that I don't really see why we need to vote on it unless you guys feel like you need to.
Are they coming to the commission for money?
No, they're just coming to inform us of what they're doing more than anything.
Because the commission originally paid for it.
No, the commission didn't. Oh, did they? No, these are Love Your Block projects that they're paying for. And if there's a mural or something that has something to do with art, they're just bringing it to our attention just for information's sake. So,
Just in the sense of partnership
yeah,
and community togetherness.
exactly.
Gotcha.
So that's pretty much it though. But we will be working with them with the public art master plan. Their last meeting, I mentioned that they're planning on doing these pop-ups in different communities around the city. So they will have one of the calendars for I Love Your Block with all the different events that they're doing, so they can choose something within that list as one of their pop-ups, so that
Okay,
we know for sure that they're reaching into the community.
great. All right, does anyone else have any community events they want to announce to the group? All right, well, is there any other business that anyone wishes to discuss? Yes,
I have a question. So I think because I've been working in publishing for so long, I'm super paranoid about copyright. So I know that people are sending out some cool like videos of murals being painted and stuff like that. And it's okay to post that to social media, right? Because I would not like, do I need permission? Like, I don't want to do anything wrong, so.
Yeah, I think it would be better for you, when I'm sending this information to you, it's just so that we can be informed
Right,
as a group.
sure,
We're,
right.
we being myself and staff from the city manager's office are going to be putting together a compilation
Okay,
of all of the reports, all the pictures, not all, but enough to give people a
representative
sample of all the
Okay.
pictures, the videos, all the things that I've been receiving as evidence that people are doing their projects. We're putting together a package. Initially, it was just going to be like a PowerPoint kind of presentation, but now KCRT is getting involved with
oh, cool.
production, basically, because that's what they do. So if you could let us pull that package together, that would be a package that could be posted once the whole package is together.
because it'll be copyrighted.
Well, between
Well-
copyright and all of the media releases and everything that need to go along with it will
Okay,
be ready for a package. But yeah, if you could just wait for us to pull it together,
Okay.
and it's not going to happen in 30 days. This is something that's going to
But-
take
okay, that's fine. And I think, but what would work better for social is to do that, post things individually rather than like a big package of things.
okay.
So I don't know, so we could just talk about it. So I just wanted to check in because I wasn't sure if it was okay to just like post all the stuff that's been going around, but I
No,
won't. And
no, if you could
until
hold
we,
hold off,
yeah,
just so
okay,
that we have a full accounting of who.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
cool. So, I'll wait. Flo?
For
Well, I think that was kind of the last item, right?
Yes, that was.
So I just wanted to thank you, Flo, for all of the work that you've done to keep us in line here. I understand this might be your last meeting for
Yeah,
now, since you've officially, we're releasing you so that you can do bigger and better things and come back to us to show all the bigger and better things that you're doing for the city of Richmond. So, you know,
yeah, I've got a year. I have to wait out a year.
yeah. So hopefully we can still keep you informed of what's going on, whether you're attending meetings or not.
Right. Maybe I'll sign up as a volunteer.
Well, let's look into that legally.
No,
Make
I'm
sure.
joking because anything I do just delays my year.
Right.
Yeah, we don't want that. to be
And
the
I need my year. I really do. I timed this to coincide. So
Yeah,
when
we
the
get it.
year is up, I'm in a good place.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
very much.
Winifred, for thanking me. I appreciate that.
Mhm, mhm.
It has been a stellar experience.
Yeah,
Well,
All right.
It's a
Good.
pretty hard act to follow.
but she's been a good example, though, I think, for
Oh, yeah,
whoever does follow her,
definitely.
of how
Yeah.
we can keep things moving.
Thank you. Well, as they say in show business, the show must go on.
It will.
So as good as I am, gooder is available.
Well, hopefully, with all the people that you know, you might be able to come up with some recommendations for some other future members who are, have some kind of
Yeah,
business.
I'm recruiting all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I really am. I believe in the work of this commission and the people sitting around the table, once we get back around the table, are critical to the work that has to be done. We just need a full house. We need all 15 members. We need a full house. God, I remember when we used to have enough people that we could actually have different people on committees and not the same people on every committee. Oh, it'll come. It'll come.
Well, I will say that Phil shared a interesting and accurate compliment. The mayor has his position, but it hasn't kept us from doing a lot of really good things.
That's right.
And you see plenty of evidence of all the projects that people are finishing, and it's really exciting to see the results of these Npa mini grants and the COVID mini grant as well. So it's unfortunate that, he feels that the way he does, but it's not keeping us from doing our work.
No.
So
I hope that the next mayor comes in, makes it a priority to hire a director of public information, because there's some great things going on in the city of Richmond. The story's just not getting told. I mean, Chevron finances the Richmond Standard and they do a good job, but they're the only, game in town. We are doing some great stuff, and to have an official spokesperson for the city, toot the city's horn, I really hope that that's a priority for the next person that comes in.
It's almost like you should be that person.
Good idea, good idea.
So one
And
more
on
thing.
that note, I will call for a motion to adjourn our meeting. I swear, I really thought we would get out early, but it's 8:55, so. that's
I'll make the motion to adjourn, but before I do that, I just wanted to thank you, Flo, for your leadership.
You're welcome.
You've been a strong leader. You pulled us through a lot of stuff here and cut us off when necessary. And I really appreciate your efforts, and I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'll be around.
It's not going that far.
I'm not going that far. No, I won't be on Zoom, but I'll be around.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. If I could take that motion now, sir.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second,
All those in favor of adjoining the June 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Richmond Art and Culture Commission, please show by show of hands. It is unanimous. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It has truly been a pleasure.
Yeah.
A singular event in my life. It's going to be on every resume I have, every bio I have, every book I write. It will be known that I sat on the Richmond Art and Culture Commission and had the great opportunity to serve as chair. What, for a year, 6 months, 9 months, something like that. 2 seasons. For 2
Thank you,
rounds of
Chloe.
grants.
Thank you.
All right, babe. Take care.
All right, you guys have a good evening.
Good evening.
Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.